like that. Rebellion getting some traction for the hashtag Spirit of the Race at radiolemans.com. And the very sporting gesture from Kelly McNish, who was tweeting that she hoped that Toyota would get back to the pits as well. That's caught the eye of one or two. So any of those we've mentioned or anything else, hashtag Spirit of the Race to @RadioLeMans, and the responsible adult is monitoring that. We'll give you about another 15 minutes on that, 15 or 20 minutes, so just after 1/2 this hour. And we'll start looking at it. That might be a bit early, you never know, there might be something in the last few minutes of the race. John Martin goes out, that'll be his last pit stop of the race. Bjorn Verdheim has just gone out in the Greaves Zytek. That's left the Pecom car in the lead, which I think is the first time I've said that, and Nick Manassi, and immediately Paul comes into the pit lane for his last pit stop of the race in that 49 car.
Danny, so your television pictures are a bit ahead of mine. I was just thinking it was this lap should be Minassion's final pit stop.
I've got the advantage of being able to look out of the window and see that.
Efficient on this.
Sorry, Paul, I've got the advantage of being able to look out the window and see as well, and not rely on the telly pictures, in fairness. You'd need a hell of a pair of binos to do that from your place.
Yeah, the curvature of the Earth might play a part in it as well. But no, in some ways, Pecom has been more efficient on this because they've been able to run their car a bit more efficiently. So this final stop will be a bit shorter, but the trouble is, of course, that it's not going to do them any good because they're not only going to fall.
You can't keep your eyes off that screen. How are your nails
I think they're probably going to fall behind Baguette as well eventually.
Let's have a quick chat. Louise has caught up with Mike, and after Joe spoke to her, let's have a quick word with Mike on the Tilly as well.
You know, we made the right call pitting, getting new tyres so that we should be comfortable, I think, to hold it, the lead at least to the end. But the O cars are very fast as well, so fingers crossed we can hold it to the end. The guys have done a great job on the pit stops, and the drivers have done a good job too. So hopefully, not too long to go, but it feels like forever.
I'll leave you watching. Thanks.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Paul. As you know, we don't have any control over what we get up from the TV. It's 30 seconds, the first to second, between John Martin and Bertrand Baguette. John Martin, one of this crop of youngish F3 drivers who've come across as a career decision into sports car racing, and particularly into P2, and they've really invigorated, I think, the prototype 2 category. We've seen a number of them, and they're doing a pretty good job, in fairness. As we go back to the lead in GTE Pro, and once again it's the age-old battle: Ferrari versus Aston Martin, Bruni versus Turner. Half a second at the line. GTE AM leader is in the pits, and that is another Aston Martin, Joe Bradley.
It is. We are still in Aston Martin land when it comes to GTE. The GTE AM leader is about to resume. Jimmy Campbell-Walter taking on fuel and tyres. Just looking at the tyres that's come off of that car, massive amount of pickup off that left front. So no doubt about it, he'll be thankful for the last set of boots for that car, the tyres I should say, and fuel will see him to the finish.
Thank you, Joe. announce, and we'll try and get across that. If we don't get that by the end of the broadcast, then listening to Midweek Motorsport, radiolemans.com, 8 o'clock UK time on Wednesday. And for those of you listening on the web at radiolemans.com, we will replay the whole race from start to finish with the Nissan countdown to green at the end of the live broadcast on Radio Le Mans, which should be about 1/4 the next hour. So that's the whole race replayed in its entirety on radiolemans.com. So Paul, last half an hour.
If anybody would think that with just half an hour of the race remaining, everybody's just stroking it home, somebody needs to tell Marcel Fessler, because he's just set the fastest first sector time of the race on that previous lap. Not the rest of the lap, the whole lap time was a 1:24, but the first sector was the fastest one of the race. So Marcel Fessler still pressing on, and if you get a clear lap, then I think he'd like to steal away the only bit of thunder that the number 2 car has, Tom Christensen having set the fastest lap of the race. I think Marcel Fessler says, actually, we could make it a clean sweep here.
Yeah, no more points for that. But
well, there's a little bit of pride at in the Audi Team Sport garage at the end of the evening, I suspect. But, well, you're right. No FIA WEC points. No, but absolutely bragging rights. And also, you know, we're moving into the second half of the season now, Paul, and these are the guys who are playing catch up at the moment. There's the guys in the Corvette pit just going through their post-race. And Brad Kettler had a great chat with Brad last night in the hotel, Joe, didn't we? What a character he is. He's been around for so many Audi triumphs and still an integral part of Audi's customer program. Runs the GT3 customer program in the US, and what a fabulous guy he is to talk to.
What I love about talking with Brad is how, even though he's done what he's done in the sport, we still go back to running heaps of scrapyard cars, talking about scrounging around scrapyards and taking bits off cars and bolting them back onto old cars to keep them running. That's the level we were talking about last night. We weren't talking about downforce or cambers and casters or winning Le Mans or winning the World Endurance Championship race. We were talking about keeping our old Mark II Escorts and Porsches and what have you on the road. Fantastic.
And just on the subject of Brad, I had the opportunity to do an interview with Carl Wilson-Clark a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying how, because Brad is the stop man on that car, and one of the reasons he does it is because he loves doing it. It's not that they kind of pick him for the job. It's just that he says, "Oh, can I do it? Can I do it?" And you know, you think somebody with that experience might be, you know, above that kind of thing of being the stop man. But for Brad, you know, he's just that kind of enthusiastic. Great attention to detail was the other factor that Brad brings to the Audi team. And if somebody from Audi says attention to detail, then that's real attention to detail.
He's mad for wanting to even consider doing that. It's the last place you want to be. You've got to have complete confidence and faith in the guys, haven't you? In the battle in the GTE Pro category, Jimmy Bruni has not been able to shake Darren Turner, but Darren has not been able to make a real solid passing attempt. It's 2.3 seconds now. We haven't been ignoring that. It just still hasn't burst into flames. Continues to just be smouldering away in the background. What about the other battles? Bertrand Baguette wringing the neck of the 35 Morgan through the first sector, but he's still just under 40 seconds behind John Martin in the 26 G-Drive Orica Nissan. Nick Manassian is another 39, nearly 40 seconds. No, he's not. He's 30 seconds behind Bertrand Baguette. So it's 40 seconds and 30 seconds, the gap between first and second and third in P2. But with 27 minutes left, that's not all over. But they have all done their last pit stops now. So it is a genuine race to the flag between the 26 Orica Nissan, the Morgan Nissan of the 25 and the Pecom Orica Nissan, the 49 car. Nissan will win that race then, I would say. So Paul, with 4 races left after this one, after the next half an hour of racing, how do you sum up the first half, and how do you see the first half of the FIA WEC season having gone? Obviously Le Mans part of that, but Silverstone, Spa, Le Mans, and now Sao Paulo. We've got the rest of the flyaways starting in America, North America, with COTA, the Circuit of the Americas, and then if I get these the right way around, it's Japan, China and Bahrain for the last of the season. How do you see the season has panned out so far?
Oh, that's a big question, isn't it? I mean,
is it
P1
worthy?
is concerned, it's clear that Audi has all round done a better job. I think they were stung more than somewhat by the performance of Toyota in the second half of last year. They went away, they did their homework, they developed something which eventually wasn't allowed on the car, but meant that they would have a sizable advantage. As it is, they've come into this season with a small advantage. But it's been unusual for Audi to actually come into a season with a small advantage or any sort of advantage over the opposition. In the Peugeot days, it was always somehow Audi catching Peugeot out because Peugeot tripped up. Audi would be more efficient, or Audi would play the strategy better. Whereas this year, they've had a performance advantage, and of course, they've also had the years and years of experience. So in terms of the overall P1, I think we've got... certainly the upper hand is with Audi, and you have to say that the dice are stacked against the number 1 car because of the advantage that the number 2 car has gained in the first half of the season. But even though it's a big battle amongst the two of them, it's not really a vitally important battle between the two of them, is it? As far as P2 is concerned, I'm increasingly liking P2. It's pushing the limits. You know, we're seeing a little bit of the unreliability coming back into P1 because everybody's pushing so hard now, and it's becoming a very, very good category. There's some jolly good drivers in there. It's got the extra strategy aspect of having to get your silver driver into the car and get him to do his laps. I hadn't actually noticed with Roman Rusinov that he came in, did a fuel-only stop in the middle of his stint just so that it would go out to its full hour and a quarter, because there wasn't enough fuel on board to do an hour and a quarter on a single tank of fuel. But it's that kind of thing which makes P2 that little bit more complicated. For GT, well, I mean, it's always a great entertaining battle, and even if nobody's actually lit the blue touch paper on this one, I still think it's we've got a great race in prospect for the last half hour of this one. And GT Am, it may not have the technological aspects of GTE Pro, but it's got all the personal aspects, and that for me makes it into a big entertainment type of thing for us to watch. We can get involved with the personalities, and you get all the emotion in GTE Am, and none of it's a bit. I genuinely think that the WEC has got itself in a very, very good place. It can only. It can't get better from what it is. It can only stay the same at best. And of course, with new regulations coming in 2014, that's going to throw the whole pack of cars up in the air, and you can pick them out when they come down onto the ground. That was a 3-minute summary of where I think it's going, John.
It's very good. It's a worthy World Championship, though, Paul, isn't it? I mean, people cocked an eyebrow a little bit when the ILMC was running, and then there was other mutterings when it was declared that it was going to be an FIA World Championship. That was obviously exacerbated by the disastrous news that Peugeot, who wanted it as a World Championship, weren't going to come and play. But it's developed into a worthy World Championship, hasn't it?
Very much so, very much so, and I mean more worthy than some others you might want to mention. It's got the mix right, it's got some good circuits. I mean, Brazil may not have the best facilities in the world, but it's got all of the history and you know, the atmosphere that you've been describing, which I was there, you know, and it does the important markets in the Far East. You know, it possibly has another European round that it could add, but you know, which one would you add and at what expense? Because as soon as you start making it a longer World Championship, then the whole thing becomes more complex. But no, very, very worthy World Championship. No question of doubt about it.
And a massive crowd here as well. We raced on a Saturday here last year, and I thought the crowd was pretty decent. Emerson Fittipaldi talked with his organising team, and they respectfully asked if the date could be moved a little bit, and also if it could be put on a Sunday. That was accommodated by Gerard Neveu, the man at the head of the FIA World Endurance Championship, and that's paid off in spades. The grid walk and the autograph session this morning was packed. I've not seen anything any better than that. The grandstand was pretty full at the start of the race, and okay, people drift off and go and do other things. There's a big entertainment zone on the infield here. The hospitality areas, and again, people will say, yeah, but what's that about? Well, that's what's that about is about businesses and local sponsors getting involved in our motor racing, and the hospitality areas have been packed today. Grandstands are filling back up again.
And this is perhaps a reflection on it, John. The fact that Emerson Fittipaldi is the man who's behind it. He's a man with no particular sports car axe to grind. I mean, he's not a Derek Bell or a Jackie Ickx. He's a Formula One man. I mean, he doesn't have a sports car reputation in any way, and yet he sees and he's identified the WEC as being something that he wants to be portrayed as part of the motor racing scene in Brazil. Yeah.
Fairly heavy attrition this weekend with 20 minutes to go, and we'll announce the winner of the Spirit of the Race in a moment. Thank you to everybody who's been a part of that. I think we've still got 20 cars actually running out there of the 28 that started. Paul's got a better handle on that than me because I don't have the full timing screen. Right. So it has been a fairly heavy attrition rate.
But that's not a problem. I see that as a good thing, John, because it shows it's hard. If it's easy to finish a race, then there's something wrong. The distance is not right, or you're not trying hard enough or something. You know, if you're getting anything over 75-80% of the starters making it to the finish, then for my money, it's not really endurance. No.
Phil Beckett. Hello, Phil. Awful result for the lads yesterday. He's another Sunderland supporter. At Specutainment, he says, just following on with what Paul's just said, the ELMS now really backs up the FIA WEC too. A lot of the Le Mans 24 grid outside the WEC are going to be the ELMS teams. And I think, Phil, actually, you've raised a very good point there, because from the dark days of Donington, a year or so ago, when we had a Class P2 field and, frankly, nothing else, we've got a viable and vibrant ACO European Le Mans Series, which is going to be bigger and better next year. There are already a lot of teams that I've been speaking to who have GT3 aspirations, or who are already running GT3s in other championships, who see the ELMS as a stepping stone with GT3 machinery to start with, to then move into, you know, get on the ACO's radar and then move into a GTE situation and start thinking about going to Le Mans, because not everybody can either afford or would want to do a WEC season, and it's a nice halfway house. So I think, Phil, you make a very good point there, and we'll be live from the next ELMS race, which is in Hungary. That's in a week or so's time, couple of weeks' time, and then, of course, back for more. That's on radiolemans.com. Then every session of the next round of the FIA WEC, which is in Austin, Texas, at the Circuit of the Americas, here on radiolemans.com, and in sound and vision for the race at FIAWEC.com as well. We'll find out about whether we can get the qualifying on there as well when we get a little closer to the race. But I think that regional series being strong and being picked up and run with by the same organising team as the FIA WEC does change the character of what we're seeing here. And 28, 30, 32 cars, that's enough for a World Endurance Championship when everybody's got to take up a position at Le Mans. I keep saying that, and people say, yeah, but we could have 40. Yeah, you could. You could have 40. You could probably have 45. But then you wouldn't have the wildcard entries that we love to see, and the one-offs, and the guys coming across from the States like Corvette. You wouldn't have those guys. And that would be, I think that would be a mistake to have too many automatic entries from the WEC. So keeping it around about 32, 35 tops doesn't stop you having a few wild cards or singleton entries in country, as we've seen in the past, so long as they fit into the ACO categories. I think that works quite well. It's not going to be the dream finish for Alan McNish and the number 2 Audi. It's going to be a little bit grumpy tonight. I think it hasn't. The die have not fallen his way, have they? And the rest of the team. Although we did have one of the moments of the race, if not the spirit of the race, when the wheel fell off Loic Duval's car and then bounced off the Armco and back onto the rear deck. The wheel was nominated for the spirit of the race, but as our executive producer Tim Gray pointed out, it might have had the endurance, but it clearly wasn't a team player, and this is a team sport. So we can now reveal to you, thanks to your votes to at Radio Le Mans, and we've had a look on the website as well, that the Robin Goodman Spirit of the Race Award for the 4th round of the FIA WEC here at Sao Paulo at Interlagos goes to the number 95 Aston Martin by a whisker over Stefan Sarrazin. Well done to both of them. They would have, either of those would have been worthy, but just by a whisker. It's your votes that go with Paul's nomination, and all of that character, Paul, that you were talking about was represented in that AM car, being right up amongst it. One stage was the fastest and led the GTE field, and so sad to see a failure so close, relatively speaking, an hour and 11 minutes from the end, that brought that car, which of course is the number of the car that Alan Simonson would have been driving here this weekend. So sad to see that car not make the end of the race in any way, shape or form.
Yes, exactly, and I think I mean, I was talking about the emotion that's in GTE AM. I mean, because of the TV coverage as well. I mean, we could see Christian Poulsen's distress at what had happened. We heard from him as well when Louise Beckett spoke to him, and all of that added into our ability to follow this. You know, I mean, this racing, the way it is being covered these days, you are able to look at the pictures, and it gives us a much better insight into what's going on.
So we're moving into the last quarter of an hour now. Joe Bradley has been our powered by Nissan pit lane reporter. Anybody looking anxious down there, or is that a stupid question? Is everybody looking anxious? It's getting quite dark out there now, isn't it?
Not quite, John. I remember the windows to your booth is quite tinted.
Yeah, good point.
It's still quite light. I think everyone's looking anxious because it doesn't matter where you are in the field. It's an achievement to get any car to the finish of a 6-hour motor race. And everybody up and down the pit lane has been working very hard, not just today, but all week long. And it's a little bit of a self-achievement, if anything, personal achievement, just to get your car to the finish. So yeah, everybody's just watching that clock tick down, and fingers crossed, no more issues to spoil someone's race.
Joe will try and jump in and get some interviews along with Louise Beckett. Our TV colleagues done a stellar job this weekend. We've had pictures in the booth for every single session here this week, and it's not the easiest place to work here at Interlagos, so the guys at Visuel and the rest of the TV team who've come across from Europe should be commended from that. And the stream for qualifying, I think, seemed to work pretty well. 1 or 2 glitches at this end for the start of the race, but again, hard work by the guys down at the TV compound have pulled that around. I should say there will be moving pictures for the race of the ELMS in a couple of weeks' time, and it will be our commentary that is patched in with them. And check the website for details on that one. Now, can we see Darren Turner do anything to battle this lead? He's got to back down again, Paul. It's, you know, it's down. It's tantalisingly close, isn't it? Just under 2 seconds again now.
Yeah, I may not be there, but I've got one of those little circuit maps which has got the dots on it going round and round, and it's, you know, I've been watching them, and it kind of goes in a little bit when they come across some traffic, and then Rooney is able to get past the traffic first, and then he's able to extend the gap a little bit, and then it comes down again. But I don't know, I just think that if Turner had something in reserve, he would have thrown it at Bruni by now, because you don't just sit there and wait for the last couple of laps in this type of race. You do it up front, and he has. He's been giving it everything he's got. He's been fast through the traffic, but he hasn't quite been able to do that last little bit that he needs to get right onto Jimmy Bruni's tail. 1.5 seconds it was when they went through for the last time. The other one too that I've been watching and willing on is Nick Minassian, of course, in the number 49 Picom Orica in 3rd place in P2, trying to close down on Bertrand Baguette. And I suddenly thought, I wonder if Bertrand needs a splash and dash or something, but I can't quite make it happen. I think I'm about 5 minutes short. So Bertrand Baguette has run everything perfectly, or at least the G-Drive team has. The Oak Racing team has run everything just as it needs to have done, and has got just enough fuel on board to get it to the flag with 5 minutes to spare, which is exactly what they're supposed to do, isn't it?
Yeah, how very Colin Chapman of them in that Orica Nissan. I do think that the influx of young, hungry and fast Formula 3 type drivers into particularly P2, difficult to break into P1 with so few privateer teams in there, so P2 is the natural place for them, and they do seem to bring a skill set that works very well. They're used to downforce, they're used to what is still the relatively tight confines of what looks, when you take the bodywork off, to be a single-seater car, and they have, I think, added a new dimension. People like John Martin, Baguette as well, and you've got the slightly more mature and stages of Nick Minassian, etc. I think, I'll be honest, I think Wertheim's done a good job in this race as well. Again, there was one or two people who pointed that and maybe have stifled a snigger when they saw Wertheim's name with the Zytek Greaves car, the Nissan, the 41, but he's done the lion's share of the driving, and he's been pretty quick. Started the race, kept out of trouble. I thought he's been pretty good.
Absolutely, and I think, I mean, you're old enough to remember Formula 2 in the 60s and 70s when Formula 2 was a domain of everybody. I mean, you got young up-and-coming drivers, you had old stagers, and then you had Formula 1 drivers having a weekend off. And in a way, P2 is a bit like that. It's proper motor racing, but you've got this great mix of drivers where young up-and-coming drivers can measure themselves sensibly against people of talent, people like Nick Minassian, like Pierre Caffer, and it does give drivers that measure, and it gives them it's a competitive situation, competitive environment, and I think it's easy to underestimate driving a P2. I can't remember who it was. We got somebody out of the car at one point, and it was clear how much of an effort it was. It was Jack Nicolay, wasn't it? And it was clear from talking to him how much of an effort it was. And yet how much of a pleasure, very fun or something, I think you said it was.
It did.
To Joe. And isn't that great? It's what this category is, and I think it's just getting stronger and stronger.
I also want to say on air, because he's standing right next to me at the moment, one of our local technicians here, Geraldo, has been absolutely fantastic for us this weekend. He's looked after us. He's a bit like a Brazilian Bob Dawson, and that's the biggest compliment that I can give the man who's standing behind me at the moment. It wasn't the easiest of starts to the week for us here. We didn't miss any of our sessions, but suffice to say that it's never always completely perfect before we get on air, and Geraldo has been an absolute star for us, and delighted to have him liaising with and his guys liaising with Joe Bradley down in the pit lane, and they've been great entertainment as well as good engineers, Joe.
Yes, especially the language barrier. We've had some fun with that translation app on our Android. With some of the translations. The other day I was known, he referred to me as the wizard.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was trying to say, but apparently I was a wizard.
Some words just don't translate clearly from Brazilian Portuguese into English. Joe, just a quick thought from you about what you've seen here. First of all, whatever else happens, coming to Brazil and coming to this track is a very special occasion for any motor racing series. And then I think everybody we've spoken to, whether they've had a good, bad or indifferent weekend, then there's never any complaints about coming to this venue as the motor racing circuit itself.
John, it won't take me very long to explain or say what I mean, and if anyone doesn't get this, then they don't know motor racing, but a motor race in Brazil, period.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, understood. The track here down the years has changed quite significantly, but in recent memory, this has been the Formula 1 configuration has been the configuration that's been used, and seeing the ELMS here with Peugeot and Audi battling themselves. I remember doing that commentary on Motors TV with the very late lamented David Leslie, Liz Halliday, Mark Cole, all involved in doing that broadcast. I thought to myself then, my heavens, that our cars look great around here. And I'm delighted to say that we were here for the first World Endurance Championship race here last year. And whilst I'm fairly certain that the calendar, as I said earlier, has been set, let's hope that this one is back on the calendar for next year, because the circuit itself has been a real start this weekend. And with the kind of support we've seen this weekend, Emerson Fittipaldi talking to Joe Bradley as part of the Nissan Countdown to Green earlier on, saying that they need events like this, Joe, to build motorsport outside of the Formula 1 bubble, if you like.
Well, it's a real and true World Championship, isn't it? It is the World Endurance Championship. All right, we started in Europe with Silverstone, then we went to Belgium, both classic and historical tracks. Then we obviously go to the Crown, and the jewel in the crown, Le Mans. But then we go off and we jaunt around the world. We've got here in Brazil, we visit South America, we then go to North America, we then go to China, Japan, and we finish off in the Middle East. That, my friend, is a true World Championship.
Yeah. And if it's spreading the word of motor racing and doing some good to the locals who want to come and race, we had over 40 Porsche GT3 by Yokohama runners in the race this morning in two separate classes. The newer cars and the older cars, but all 997s, and there's clearly a passion for cars here. In fact, the infrastructure can barely support the passion for cars on the streets. This is clearly emerging economy, one of the BRIC economies, and with the advent of the World Cup and the Olympics, it's not a bad time to be focusing in on this country and saying, come and join us. It would have been nice to have a few more Brazilian drivers, just the three I think in the team on the roster this year. Jimmy Alguersuari not in the race this weekend, replaced by his team, which I thought was an odd decision. Never really got to the bottom of that. 4 minutes to go, and Fesler leads by 3 and a bit laps from McNish, 1 and 2 and 12. The Rebellion Lola with the Toyota engine upholding the Toyota name here, and it will be on the overall podium. The battle though, and we'll come back to P2 in a moment. Darren Turner now right with Jimmy Bruni, headlights in cameras, never a good thing for commentators. Got to kind of guess where everybody are. They're coming past the 88 Felbermeyer Porsche of Christian Reed. Oh, and Christian doesn't need to be turning in there on Darren. Come on, D, got to get through, and here comes one of the Audis as well. That might well be the leader of the race. Yes, it is. So Darren Turner then, just when he doesn't want to see this number one, and if Fesler's got any sense, he won't push this too hard, because Darren is not likely to want to give ground at this point of the circuit. Through the twisties, almost like a street track, needing lots of mechanical grip. He goes round the outside of Darren as they come into the horseshoe, and that's not a smart move. Lena needs to be on the radio to Marcel and say, these guys are fighting for GTE win, and you've got 3 laps on McNish. Don't get involved in this, because you might come off second best. And this is where these races, down to the last 3 minutes, and now going up the hill, that's the smart move. Use the power of the hybrid and punch through. Oh, Fesler looked a little bit too impatient there for my liking. Darren Turner will not be happy either, because there was no need for that. If the second place car had been right up his tailpipes, I don't have an issue. But he's not.
I get the impression, John, that there is just something that's not quite right with that Aston. I mean, the way it was crawling all over the Ferrari earlier on, I'm not sure that it's the Ferrari that's any better. I just think that if Darren could do something in particular, he'd do it to that Aston, and all of a sudden it would be half a second a lap quicker. just doesn't seem to be quite as aggressive somehow.
Yeah, I'd say that was reasonable. There's not an issue with fuel on either of these two, Paul, are there? I mean, it was an hour and 6, an hour and 7 when they came in.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't. You know, they certainly shouldn't be running out of fuel now. They'll be fine on fuel. It's only a question of possibly tyre pickup, something like that, where the tyres have not dealt with the pickup as well, because it's inevitable at this stage in the race that you'll be getting offline and picking up some rubbish at some point on the tyres. And I just wonder if that's what's affecting them. They've got tyres out of balance or something like that, where vibration is something is affecting one of the cars.
Now, of course, we always mention this at the end of the race. The race is over at the end of 6 hours, the next time the leader goes by, and where the leader is on the track, of course, affects how many laps the other classes get. Now, the leader's just gone by the battle for the lead in GTE Pro. In GTE AM, Aston Martin, with a lap's grace to Jamie Campbell-Walter and the rest of the 96 team, fingers crossed at the moment for them. Davide Rigon has done a sound job for the Ferrari number 81. And Christian Reed and the rest of the 88 Felbermayr Proton Porsche team, perhaps not the favoured sons there, but have pulled off a podium ahead of the IMSA Matmut Porsche. As the 98 Aston with Paul Dall'Anna comes out of the pits for a splash and dash at the end of the race. I said we'd come back to P2. Nick Manassian just not able to close that gap down from third to second. The PCOM team, their Oregon Nissan, look on for a podium though. Go on, Paul.
Sorry, John. We are on the last lap at the moment. I've just redone the calculation, and Marcel Fessler is just coming up, and he'll come across the line just after the 6 hours is up.
Will he? He's just coming through the final corner now. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. The checkered flag is not yet out. 2, 1. He's gone across the line, and the checkered flag was not shown to him. The checkered flag was not shown, and now it's the final lap. So Fessler has confounded even Paul Truswell's calculations, and by about half a second, the start-finish line is quite far back down the straight, or the finish part of the start-finish. So there will be one more lap for Fessler, and that is most important for Darren Turner. Can he get any kind of run at all on Jimmy Bruni? Fingers crossed down in the G-Drive pit with Mike Conway and the rest of the guys getting ready to celebrate. And this could be very, very big indeed for Darren Turner. I don't have now, and I need, is the little map, don't I, to see where the battles are, because we're going to pick up the leader all the way around. 51 and 97 are just in behind, half a lap behind the leader, and there's nothing between them. They have got a 92 Porsche and traffic ahead of them. I think there might be one car between Darren and the leader in his class. Yes, there is. It's one of the Ferraris, I believe, as through to win the 6 hours of Sao Paulo. He's the number 1 Audi squad, and Marcel Fessler, the Swiss driver, brings it home, and they cut back the lead of Alan McNish and Tom Christensen in the Drivers' Championship. It's another 1-2 for Audi, or at least it will be when McNish crosses the line. Joe Bradley is down in the Audi pit.
Yes, and we can all feel the joy here at Audi. A mixed set of results for the 1 and the 2 car. I've got Benoit in front of me. Benoit, that quick word there, congratulations. Round 4 of the World Championship. It is good, a good result, a great result for the championship.
Yeah, it's really good, you know, we still run for the championship. That's what we were hoping before coming to here. The race was really difficult, and we are really happy to be there. Unfortunately, we couldn't fight until the end with the Toyota and the other Audi, but it's a good result for us.
Thank you, Benoit. We'll leave you to continue getting patted on the back. I'm going to try and get a word with Wolfgang Ulrich, who is the man in charge of this Audi program. A mixed day for him with his car
Still first and second, Joe. I think
Still
they'll take
first
that.
and second, yes, I suppose. But he had to. He saw something that he's perhaps never seen before, like all of us. One of his cars bringing an errant wheel back. I'm just chasing him around.
Very quickly, it is confirmed that G-Drive have got across the line with John Martin. Bruni beat Turner by about a second and a half, and Aston Martin also take the GTE arm with the 96 car brought home by Jamie Campbell-Walter. Down to the powered by Nissan pit lane, Joe Bradley is with, I'm sure, a relatively happy Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich, head of Audi Motorsport.
Mr. Ulrich, a strange day. Yes, 1 and 2, great result, but have you ever seen anything like that wheel being brought back by the number 2 car?
No, I think that's unique, but you really see some material. It brings all back to the pit. Now, I think this should not have happened, but at the end, I think it's a great result for the team, and it for sure was as well a pity that the Toyota, without really being their fault, have been out of the race that early. It was a difficult race anyway with the temperatures and with the traffic, but all our guys did a brilliant job.
Now the World Championship's going to become tighter because of today's result. Are you going to let these guys just fight it out to the very bitter end?
As long as we can do so, we will let them fight. I think it's the idea of motorsport, and the last years, I think we showed that we can do it to the very end, and we will try to do it this year as well.
Thank you, Dr. Ulrich. Congratulations there, Wolfgang Ulrich.
And we're still listening into Joe as the cars come through. Everybody is across the line who needs to be. Results are provisional, of course, and we have seen positions taken away early in the week. Paul Truswell, thank you very much indeed. Doing the broadcast somewhat remotely, about as remote as you can get, actually, but seemed to work very, very well. It's been an interesting race, plenty to keep us interested all the way through, even if it wasn't, as we said earlier, wheel-to-wheel racing.
But it always is, isn't it? I mean, there's always something to look out for. I mean, that's the beauty of endurance racing, multi-class racing. There's always things going on down through the classes. And even if nothing is actually happening at any particular moment, there's always something which is about to happen or which might happen. And that's what draws me to this kind of thing. And it keeps me glued to my seat and having a great time and enjoying it. Yeah, my only fear is that I hope it didn't work too well, because there's two problems. One is that I like going to motor races and watching them kind of from the track side, and the other is that my family don't appreciate the fact that I've taken over a room of the house and I've been yelling for most of the afternoon.
I think quietly contemplative rather than yelling, in fairness, Mr. Truswell. Thank Tatiana and the children for us, and we'll let you go back to your Sunday evening back there in the Surrey Data Centre, and we'll say thank you very much to Paul Truswell for his contribution, and we'll speak to him later on the season. Thanks again, Paul.
See you in Hungary.
So leaves it to Joe Bradley and myself to come through. The cars are lined up in Parc Fermé. We'll stay with you and try and get some more interviews. Marcel Fessler has just jumped out of the winning car. The Swiss driver is about to walk into the clutches of our TV colleagues.
Number 1 Audi pulls into the number 1 spot. Congratulations, another great win.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's nice to win here. It's very nice to win here in Interlagos. It was a strange race with all what happened over the race, and in the end we just have to bring it home. Car was really great to drive the whole weekend. Thanks to my team, they did a good job. Yeah, it was after it happened with the Toyota, one competitor is out. It's a little bit a shame for sure. We would like to have it until the end to have a really good competition, and number 2 car lost the wheel, so in the end we have to bring it home. But first you have to bring it home, and I have to thanks to my teammate, they did a good job too.
Thank you.
Louise Beckett has done sterling work in the pit lane. Tel Aviv television colleagues. Second in GTE ARM for 8-star. Enzo Podolicio is with Joe Bradley.
Just making our way down to the podium. Enzo, fantastic result for you guys, second place and a podium, about to spray some champagne.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, last year we won, this time we finished second. I mean, the Aston was quicker than us, but we had a good pace and we were working for the championship. That's all we have to do from now to the end.
And a tough race, lots of attrition out there, lots of problems with traffic.
Yeah, it's really competitive, and and the traffic with the Audis and the the P1 cars is really tough. But I mean, it's great. I mean, great result for us for the championship, but we have to work one by one.
Great great stuff. Thank you, Enzo. Great to have you here.
Alan McNish climbs out of the number 2 Audi and heads up towards the podium. Let's have a quick look back at what happened in the race 6 hours ago when we started this in bright sunshine. It is now dark outside. The lights from the pit garage is beginning to shine. Alan McNish had such a great start, managed to get round Fessler on the start of the race, and then all of a sudden, early in the race, a big issue. One of the major talking points early on, there was a little bit of bumping and boring with the number 92 Porsche and the 51 Ferrari, but then Sarrazin going off and bringing out a lengthy, almost a full hour of full course caution. Let's go back down to Joe Bradley and to Jamie Campbell-Walter, winner of GTE for the 96 Aston Martin team.
I've got both of those guys actually, Stuart Hall and Jamie Campbell-Walter. Guys, congratulations, class win, fantastic race, but had
it had its moments, and you know, it's fantastic for the whole team to win, especially after Le Mans, what happened there with Alan and everything, and you know, fantastic to have Pro and Am win for us in Am is really special. Obviously Rol's not here this weekend with us, so special for him to have his car win a race, I think, being a car collector. And you know, in the early half of the race we had our bad luck, didn't we, with the safety car when we got split up from the leader whilst in second place. So you know, we got a bit of luck towards the end, and yeah, unfortunately for our teammates, they didn't get to finish, and it would have been nice to be on the podium with them. But yeah, fantastic result, really happy.
It is indeed. Has it made a difference just sharing the car with one other driver? We're not being here this weekend.
I don't know really. We're rolled. He's back for Texas. We just thought we'd try and come here the best result possible. We've done that. As many points as possible. You can, you know, hopefully it's a good start to the second half of the year, and you know, when we're all back, the three of us at Texas, we can, you know, challenge once more.
Yes, again. But for now, go and get some champagne and just soak it up. A great win there for the two English boys. British interest there for Jamie Campbell-Walter and Stuart Hall. First in the GT Am class in their Aston Martin.
Thanks, Joe. Joe Bradley down there. Still looking back at some of the highlights of the race. So many good performances coming in up and down the field, in the heartbreak moment with an hour and 11 minutes to go when Christian Poulsen lost the right rear wheel of the 95 Aston, which had been dominating the Am category.
John Martin.
Let's have a word with John Martin, Joe.
John Martin, hey, congratulations. Fantastic drive. It was all right. You've led a lot of this race, but it wasn't as easy as perhaps you guys made it look.
No, for sure. You know, it's you know, any of these races, I think anything can happen. So you just gotta keep pushing till the you know, checkered flag falls. And certainly then in the end, it was we were sort of pushing on. So maybe not so in the second to last stint, but the last stint I was flat out. So it was yeah, it was tough.
Really strong lineup with your teammates as well. It must make you really buoyant for the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we get along really well as well, so which helps. You know, Mike's really quick and Roman as well. So no, I think we're looking all right. We've had pace, plenty of pace this year, so it's good to finally be on the top step of the podium.
And that you are indeed. I'm going to let you go because you're being called for the podium now. Thanks, John Martin, winner in the LMP2 class in the G-Drive Nissan.
And as you can probably hear behind Joe, the German national anthem ringing out across the Autodromo, the Carlos Pache, Marcel Fessler, Andrea Lotterer and Ben Treluet on the podium for Audi, on the top step of the podium. And an enthusiastic welcome onto the podium from the crowd that has remained. Presenting the third place overall trophy to the guys from Rebellion. Getting up there, the marketing director of Coca-Cola FMSA Brazil, Mr. Dorian Jose Cruz Guerra. First to Nick Heidfeld, Matthias Besch and Sebastian Buemi. That's a hard-fought third place for those guys. Presenting the second place trophies to the number 2, the Audi number 2 car, the president of the CPA Federation, Mr. Pintero Clayton, and it will be Alan McNish, Loic Duval and Tom Christensen. And the winning trophies presented by the president of Claro HDTV, Mr. Antonio Joao Filho, to the winners, Andrea Lotterer, Marcel Fessler and Ben Treluet. And while that happens, let's have a quick word with Bertrand Baguette second in the P2 category. Joe Bradley.
Yeah, we've got all 3 of the drivers. Bertrand, a great drive towards the end there. You really did not give up at all, did you?
No, and I had to save fuel, so I left 200 meters before my braking point, so it was very tough to do good lap times. But the car behaved very well. The Oak Racing did a good job on the setup. It was a pleasure to drive this car today, and even if we lost nearly 1 lap with a safety car at the beginning, we still managed to finish P2 and apparently 40 seconds behind the G-Drive car. So maybe we lost the victory, but we did today we did a good operation at the championship, so that's the most important.
Martin, if I can bring you in, congratulations, second place. And Ricardo, if I can also bring you in. Martin, firstly, tell us, if you can sum up your race in 1 sentence, what would that be?
It was very stressful. My first stint, I was gapping it to Alex, and I managed to put 25 seconds on the 24 car. But then the second stint, we stayed with the same compound, and they switched compounds, and they were just unbelievably quick. After 5 laps, my tires were destroyed, and I was just hanging on till the end. I think we've got to go back and look at that, the tire strategy for next time. But I passed the car over to Bertrand with 7-second lead, and he brought it home in second.
And Ron, if I can ask you about your race, very strong lineup with your 2 teammates and yourself. Can you tell me a little bit about how your stints went?
Well, my stint was cut short due to the safety car. So once we went green, it was very intense, fighting for a position. Almost made contact several times. I had a car in front that I could not pass it, heading the car behind also. So very intense to green, but I think we did what we had to do, stay in front and think of championship in the point.
To know who will win. See you in Austin, Texas for the 6 hours of Circuit of the Americas.
The next round of the FIA WEC is in Austin, Texas. We'll be there for every single session on RadioLeMans.com and in sound and vision on the race at FIAWEC.com. That will be round number 5. Hope you've enjoyed round number 4. Get back down to Joe Bradley in the scrum that is the area around the bottom of the podium. Joseph, anyone else to talk to there? Hello, Joe. Hello, Joe. Clearly not. So the P2 podium about to get underway. Orica number 26, Morgan number 35 and the 49 Pecom car, and the national anthem of the G-Drive Racing Orica Nissan. The Russian national anthem then belting out across Sao Paulo's Interlagos circuit for the winning teams. And once again then, Mr. Dorian Jose Cruz Carrera presents to the third place team of PCOM, Nick Manassian, Luis Perez Companc, and of course Pierre Caffa, Mr. Pitero Clayton, the president of the CBA Foundation, to Bertrand Baguette, Ricardo Gonzalez, the Mexican, and Martin Plowman from the UK. And the big trophies to be presented by the president of Claro HD TV, who took this whole race live here in Brazil, Antonio João Filho, and that goes to the G-Drive Racing team, Roman Rusinov, John Martin and Mike Conway, a Russian, an Australian and a Brit in a French chassis with a Japanese engine. Truly a World Championship effort for the win in P2.